Okay. Okay. Um. So before you were a therapist, what were you doing?
Case management, and look, I've been a lifelong student. I've been in school like all my life. Okay, I just finished a PhD program last year, and so
Congratulations.
that has been what I totaled it 13 years of higher education. So I've always been in school until here recently when I finished that last degree, which was the PhD in counseling and psychological studies. Um, but yeah, it was me trying to figure out. I've always known I wanted to help people. So
Hmm.
before I became a therapist, it was me still helping people, just trying to figure out like where do I fit in? How can I best help people? What are my gifts? What am I naturally good at? And so I was doing case management. I worked at a homeless shelter. I worked for a nonprofit, and I genuinely wanted to help. And I was
Okay.
just trying to figure out how.
Okay. Okay. So, what are some things that you would say? Because unfortunately, in our community, mental health is for a long time was frowned upon. When I told people I went to therapy, some of my friends looked at me like I was crazy. But then when they started change, they was like, "Oh, okay, what's that from?" And I'm like, "Well, remember what I told you to do?" How do you combat that? Because again, we are told things don't leave this house.
There you go.
Unfortunately, in certain instances, just go to church. You can go to church, you can talk about it at home, but you will still need something. And I don't know how to describe it, but I know that I released when I went to therapy and I was able to feel better about a whole bunch of stuff. So
Hmm.
how do you get that across?
I let people know, unfortunately, in our culture, like you said, a lot of times it's a rule. What happens in our house stays in our house. I
Hmm.
have been letting people know that that is a whole lie. That is the enemy trying to keep you in bondage. Go find a professional that you connect with. Now, that's a really, really important piece because you can't just go to anyone, right? You need someone that is going to understand your core values and beliefs, and that you can build a positive therapeutic relationship with. So, finding a therapist that matches what you need, where you feel comfortable and you're actually going to share. I encourage people to do that. One of my mentors that I have learned so much from over the past couple of years is Dr. Anita Phillips. And I purchased a shirt from her. She has a quote that says, prayer is a weapon, therapy is a strategy. And so I use that quote to help people understand, yes, it's okay to pray, go to church, because that's a weapon. But if you don't know how to use that weapon, if you don't have a strategy to go with that weapon, what's the point? Like let's go to like war or the armed forces. They give you an AK-47 and no training. What are you doing with the AK-47? You don't know
Right.
how to aim, you don't know how to pull the trigger, you don't know how to take the safety off. You
Right.
just have this AK-47, no training. Well, therapy can give you the strategy to show you how to use that AK-47. Right? And that's why I said the therapist has to align with what you believe in. I specialize in incorporating spirituality, and that is a lot of my clients come in, they understand that I am going to help them to not only heal, but to do it in a way that their spirit is going to feel those changes too. So mind, body, and spirit. We aren't just trying to attack one area and make changes. Yes, we want to ultimately change behaviors, but deeper rooted, going back to that deeper rooted, what is really going on here? Is it spiritual warfare? Is it you just like making a decision and saying I don't want to change? Are there some invisible forces that are kind of holding you back? And so I help people to process that part and see that it's okay to pray and go to therapy. It is okay to go out there and get what you need, regardless of what that looks like.
Couldn't agree more. So do you run into a lot of apprehension and then people kind of warm up to you? I was because when you said that in my mind, I'm like, I'm not gonna lie. I walked into therapy like,
Yes.
what
So
you gonna do? You really gonna be able to help me? And that was my mindset because again, it's so far back, church and parents and all this other stuff. And I think a lot of them they didn't do it. So it's not like they were being like abuse. They just didn't know like
right.
you need something else. And now we're in the age where it's like, okay, you need like I didn't hear mental health in probably till 2010. Some like I'd never heard of it, the conversation, right? And it took me to 2020 to get some help. So how do you get past that? Because I know I walked in there like this is a waste of money and time. I literally was saying that to myself, and then 2 sessions in, I'm sobbing like a child, releasing everything, and I'm like, oh, it does work. So how do you get past?
I hear that often. And typically, the way you just described your journey is what clients will come back and tell me. They're like, you know what? I wasn't sure this was going to work, but I have made so much progress. I have addressed things that I didn't even know were there. I've had, now, I've had some men come in that have been so uncomfortable that they struggled to even look at me during therapy. And so what one of my clients did was he started I had children things in my office too, and he found a coloring book and he was like, "Is it okay if I color?" I said, "Sure." So he colored while he was talking and he did not look at me. It took him a few sessions before he got to a place where he was more comfortable talking to me. So come in, I don't mind you coming in apprehensive. I don't, because I do believe in the process and I know that you're going to grow from this. And if for some reason, I always tell my clients this on the first session, if for some reason we figure out that I'm not a good fit, because I'm not going to be for everybody. If we figure out I'm not a good fit, I will help you find somebody else who is, because I don't want to slow down your healing journey. So what happens is with the cultural differences here, other cultures, they have the therapist before they have the problems, right? A lot of times they already recognize the benefit, like, oh, our family has been going to this person and we know where to go when we get in trouble, like when we're running into issues with relationships and with making decisions and what's going on in our brain, negative thoughts, those types of things, we go to this person. So they already have that person identified. When they start running into maybe marital issues or their children's behaviors, it's like, oh, we know we're going to Dr. Such and Such. We coming to Dr. LaShonda because we already had her identified. I want us as in Black culture to know that that's okay. And it is the stigma, I promise you, is not something that's going to be easily broken, because we can trace this back so far. Like in my dissertation, I went back in history. When I tell you it's layers here, we're talking about even like things that have happened to the Black culture medically, where we just don't trust medical professionals. Guess what? That includes a therapist. Like you aren't exempt. What are you about to try to do to me? And so there's that apprehension there, and it comes in so many layers. But I would just encourage somebody, try it. If it doesn't work, it shouldn't hurt you. But try it. And because I truly believe I tell my clients, if you put the puzzle pieces on the table, I'll help you put them together. But if you don't put all the pieces out there, it's going to be an incomplete puzzle. We can't do much with this. So go in with just an open mind and just see what happens. Forget some of the things that we've been taught. That's the hard part. Forget some of those things. You got to go in your brain and throw away that fact that grandma told you, don't ever tell anybody what's going on in our house. And that grandma didn't know any.
Right.
Grandma was just telling you what she knew. But now we are in a place that we see therapy works. We have the studies, we have the research. to prove that. And then on top of that, we have people like you, just testimonials like, hey, I went and it helped. So use that resource to your advantage. I use the resource to your advantage.
Okay, let me ask you this. I'm gonna ask you a business question now.
Okay.
How long has your business been up and running?
We are at year 7. Dreams and Visions is at year 7. The Heal, my nonprofit, I just turned that into a nonprofit. So technically this would be our first year, but I've been hosting Heal retreats for 4 years now. So those retreats allow you to kind of come in and do a bunch of different sessions over a weekend. But again, that nonprofit is new in formation. Dreams and Visions, it has kind of stood the test of time at this point. So we got a few years under our belt.